professional trappers use day in and day out. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, just holler, let me know, I'll stop. And then after I go over a few things inside here, we can go outside. And I actually parked my camper down the way. I was setting it up last night and there was mold damage all around it. So we'll be able to actually set some traps and you can see it, whoever wants to break the pole. So first of all, molds, okay? There's a lot of misconceptions out there about molds and mold control. Moles eat insects. They do not eat roots. They do not eat vegetation. So that's important to understand. They're often accused of killing plants and this and that. They can uproot plants, but they do that looking for mainly worms, grubs, which are a very small portion of their diet. So a lot of people think that grubs, if you get rid of the grubs, you get rid of the moles. That's just not true. That's probably one of the biggest misconceptions out there about moles, that if you get rid of the grubs, you won't have moles. Not true. Here in the Midwest, earthworms are the vast majority of their diet. And unfortunately, we can't kill, or we don't want to kill the worms because they're very beneficial. So, I'll talk a little bit about location for the traps. Location and setting the traps properly are the two most important part of mole traps, with actually setting the trap properly being the most important, okay? Location being second. I know a lot of times that's kind of flip-flop, like fur trapping, you want to get location, but moles are a little bit more forgiving as far as location goes. So really, it's very important to set the traps properly. So let's talk about location first. So when I arrive at a customer's yard, I do it full-time, well, pretty much full-time, but so when I arrive at a customer's house to service their yard for moles, there's a few things that I initially look for. The first thing is I want to find those surface tunnels, okay? The surface tunnels are very easy to spot. They're raised, they look like little ridges, and you may see a single run, or you may see multiple spider web looking runs. We want to concentrate on those single runs, okay, that lead to those spider web. Now, a couple of places that you'll find those that are pretty common are in low spots where there's a lot of moisture. You'll find them like along foundations, along sidewalks, up against landscape walls, landscape edging. So those are kind of the hot spots, the main travel tunnels for moles that they use to get to the feeding areas. Now, the feeding areas are those spider web areas where the mold it just looks like the whole area is oiled up. And what that is an area where that mold has found a lot of food. So what they do is they'll just dig a bunch of tunnels, zigzag back and forth, and then what happens is earthworms and other insects will fall down into those tunnels, and then the mold just has to come through and pick them up. So basically the tunnels that you're seeing are food webs, catching for food for the mold. And a mole has to eat basically close to its body weight every day to survive. So if you see those areas that are just all kind of oiled up and tunnels that go back and forth and zigzag with no real rhyme or reason, look around, because what you'll probably find is a single tunnel or maybe a few tunnels that lead into those areas or out of those areas. And those spots are going to be the spots to set the traps. So low spots are good. Fence lines are really good too. A lot of times you'll see single tunnels along right under fences, okay? And the reason for that is, number one, when it rains, that moisture hits the fence and falls straight down, and that's a little bit wetter underneath the fence, easier to dig. Gets a little bit of shade from the sun, and also it's not compacted ground, it's looser ground. So mold basically take the path of least resistance. So if they hit a spot where it's really easy to dig, they're going to follow that. And along those fence lines is a very popular spot, along with, of course, the low spots. So Really, there's not much to it. Like I said, you can make mole trapping as simple or complicated as you want. I prefer to make it really simple, and I've really streamlined my process over 20 years to finally come up with a system that I think is probably one of the best out there. As far as getting in yards, out of yards, and I know most of you guys are probably just going to be trapping moles in your own yard, so it's not like you're timing yourself or you need to get in and out quick, but for guys that do it, you know, full time or have a business, you know, the faster you can get in a yard, the faster you can check traps, you know, the more money you're going to make. And of course, you know, the faster you can catch the moles, the more money you're going to make. So, up to this point, does anyone have any questions?
What are the big mounds that we see up there?
It's a good question. So the mounds that we see, so some yards will have mounds and some yards won't have mounds. So what the mounds are is basically that's tunnel excavation. So when they dig a tunnel, that dirt's got to go somewhere. So what they do is as they're digging, they'll bring that dirt up and off at an angle. One way tunnel out, and they push the dirt up to the mound. Okay. They'll dig some more, bring that dirt back, and out. Now, once they get to a point where they don't want to bring it all the way back, they'll start making a second tunnel up and out. So those mounds are not ideal to set, okay? Because what it is you'll have a main run deeper, then you'll have a bunch of offshoot tunnels with mounds, okay? So what you can do is if you do see mounds and you don't see any surface tunnel, there are yards where there's just maybe a few mounds. You can take a probe or a long-handled screwdriver, and if that mound is right here, go about 6 or 8 inches out from the edge of the dirt, and just start probing down. And what you'll do is you'll find that main run that runs alongside it, and that would be a good spot to set a trap. Okay. Now the surface tunnels, if they're surface tunnels, don't waste your time with the mounds because it's right there. You know it's right there. They don't physically excavate the dirt, they just push it up, and that's what creates the mound in the yard. So back to the whole efficiency thing, if you can find surface tunnels to set on, they're going to be coming back through there. So it's best to just set on those as far as, you know, efficiency. Because those are only that deep, whereas the deeper tunnels may be, you know, 8-10 inches. So, and that kind of, I'll kind of go off on that tangent a little bit. So the tunnel system of moles, there's different layers. So the surface tunnels are basically primarily used when the moisture is more at the surface, okay? As summer goes on and say the soil dries out, the worms and other insects go deeper, okay? So the moles have deeper tunnels. So they may have 2 or 3 layers of soil, of tunnels throughout the soil. So in the winter, they may be far deeper, okay? They don't hibernate, they're active all year. So it's pretty common, you know, my customers will say, oh, you know, during the summer, the moles went away. Well, they didn't go away, they just went deeper. They're just not working at the surface anymore. And a lot of times what you'll see is, you know, as spring wears on and we get into summer, you'll see little tufts of dirt, you know, throughout the yard. And what they're doing there is they're cleaning out some of those intermediate level tunnels because they know that they're going to have to use them. The moles like their tunnels really clean, so when they're moving through there, it's pitch black. They can feel the insects. So they'll move along. They want to be able to decipher between a dirt clot and a beetle, okay? And if there's a bunch of dirt in there, it's harder for them. So they know that they need to clean those tunnels out. They like their tunnels very clean. They're tidy. So, good question. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay. So what I'll do is I'll go over some of the common traps real quick, starting with the one that I started out using 20 years ago. This is called the Trapline Products mole trap. It's a very nifty design here. It's just stainless wire, and these go completely underground. And to set them, it's kind of complicated to set, but once you do it, you learn pretty quickly. But you just set it, and then it's spring power here. Here's the jaws, here's the pan. So with these traps, you have to use 2 for a given set. One goes one way and one goes the other way because we don't know which way the mole's going to come. Okay? So once we place these in the tunnel and get them bedded each way, we cover it up with dirt, and then the mole comes along, hits the pan, and it catches them right around the chest. Okay, so there's advantages and disadvantages to a trap like this. Some of the advantages might be if, let's say you're trapping a school, okay, and there's little kids, and you don't want them to mess with your traps. These can be pretty discreet, so they don't see them because they're completely underground. You may have to just maybe spray paint a circle on the ground so you know where your traps are. The downside to a trap like this is you have to dig the trap up to check and see if it's going off. So it does take a little bit more time, but it's a pretty versatile little trap. It's a good trap. Another trap that's similar to the trap line is it's a French design. It's called a patang, and these were designed over 300 years ago. It's simply just some steel that's been formed up, and you got to use a tool. Open it up like that, and you place a little wire trigger in there. And the same thing as the trap line, you got to use 2. One goes this way in the tunnel, one goes that way. And then when the mole comes through, you tie your triggers to the trap so they don't do that, obviously. So similar trap, same concept. And these go completely underground. Okay, this is another pretty cool little trap, very popular in the UK. It's called a tunnel trap. The nice thing about this one is you can catch 2 moles with one trap. So it has 2 independent choker loops, one on each side, 2 independent triggers. And to set this thing, you push the choker loop down, catch the L pin over, and hook it onto the trigger. The trigger extends up to the top here. Okay, so, and then you just use one of these. The mole comes through here, catches it between the sheet metal and the choker loop. And then you can get up to the second one, come in and say hi to the one that's dead in the trap already. So, pretty cool design. These work very, very, very well in deeper tunnels. In the shallow, in the surface tunnels, they work mediocre. They're okay. There's better options unless you're in the deeper tunnels, but these work well in the deep tunnels. And let's see. Finally, we'll talk about the Mole Reaper. This is a trap that I've worked with the manufacturer and made a lot of tweaks to. It is a scissor type trap, and with this one, nice thing about this one is you can see when it's gone off. So this is the one I'll be setting outside, and basically we're gonna put it in the run. Dirt level's about right here. Mole comes through, pushes up on that, and there you go. Nice thing about this is you can tell when it's gone off. It speeds up my operation 100-fold. I can walk into a yard. I actually use the orange powder coated ones, and I can see all the way across the yard if those handles are apart and it's going off. So the downside to this is it can only catch one mole, but I can set this trap in probably 20 seconds. So for me to set a few extra traps, not a big deal. And I don't have to dig it up and check it. So we'll set a few of these, and I'll show you outside how what I look for and how we get them in the ground properly. Because like I said before, setting the trap properly trumps location every time. If you don't get the trap in the ground, you can be on the best run. And if that mole has that trap, that's your fault. You screwed up. So, any questions so far?
Is that your go-to trap for the most part?
The Mole Reaper, absolutely. Yep. So I've been using the Mole Reaper been probably 3 years. I used another type of, they call these Talpex clones. Okay, the Talpex trap is it's still made in the Netherlands, and they were kind of like the originals. And then there's a bunch of clones that spun off of it, and you could probably get 7 or 8 different clones. And I found a clone that was probably I was about 60% happy with, and I made a few more changes to it, and now I'm 100% happy with it. So this trap has gone through a couple different iterations, and I'm basically where I want it to be now, and the customers and operators really like it. So, and I listen to them too. If they say, hey, can we, you know, like the last change we made, there's guys that said, hey, can we make them open up a little bit wider? We did. So they open about 1/2 inch wider. And did it have to be 1/2 inch wider? No, but it's not going to hurt anything. So.
You still have your YouTube channel?
Yes, I do. Yep. Thanks for.
He has a YouTube channel. I've seen it. He shows you how to do it too. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yep. So it's at Mold Reaper Traps. I do product reviews, or product overviews. Everything I basically said here today, you can look that up on any of my products. I've got videos where I'm out in the field where I literally put a camera on my chest and we're just, all right, we're here at this customer's house, and show you what to look for, which again, it's not as important as the actual setting of the trap. So, and I do that, and you'll see it's the same thing over and over again. Consistency, just like anything else, is important. You do the same thing over and over. So you watch one of my videos, you already watched them all because it's the same thing. The way I set them, consistency, and you'll get the results. Questions?
Do you have anyone buy your molds to use for door making or anything?
I don't know. I mean, it's a good
He
question.
caught seeds use your traps and he caught some molds and shoved them down the dirt hole.
Yeah, so basically they're
Yeah, I didn't know.
So back in the day in the UK, mold furs were very popular. They were used, but the problem is you know you just needed so many of them. Okay, but UK is like mold capital of the world. Okay, they are just overrun. And over there, they do a lot of agricultural trapping, because what happens is the moles will dig up the mounds, okay, and that it could have listeria, so I guess it ruins their silage. So the farmers are like really, really hot heavy about getting the moles out. So they hire mole catchers over there, and it's a pretty big business over there still. But the furs, they're not used like that. You've all seen that in your yard, right? Okay. Now what I do is that can tell me a lot right there. So when I look at that, if that tunnel was going that way, I'd come up, I'd say, ooh, man, this one's fresh here. For 2 reasons. The edge of the dirt, see how it's nice and crisp, not rounded off like it had been rained on. And number 2, I can see moisture just about a 1/2 inch down from the surface, okay? So, does everybody see that? How that dirt is nice and crisp on the edge versus having been rained on where it's rounded over. So if you get a good rain and you're out there the next day, that's perfect, because every spot where you see a mole that's pushed the ground up like this, you can tell how fresh that is. It's either before or after the rain. So if you go into a yard and you see stuff that looks like this right after a rain, that's a good spot to set. So. Everybody see that? Okay, so that's one spot where we can send a trap. Now, see that? Doesn't look like that over there, does it? No. So this might be an older run, okay? But what we can do is, since we're here, we can dig it up and investigate. So we'll do a set here. First thing I do is probably one of the most important. When you initially open that tunnel, you want to keep your initial excavation very, very small, very small. So what I do is I just take my knife, hook down, and open it up just like that. Okay? Clean some of the rocks out. That's it. Okay? Just like that. Now you're going to say, okay, that's way too small. So then what I can do now is very incrementally open it up. The way I do it is I don't just take my knife and put each side, because then that's going to collapse the whole tunnel. Okay? So what I'll do is I'll take one or two fingers, support the roof of the tunnel, and just slice. See how I can just take very little? Okay? So we do that. Okay? We're open wide enough. We're a little bit narrower than the trap. Okay? Just a touch. Perfect. Okay? And I take my clean out spoon, which started life like that, but I bend it like this, and I'll explain why. So what I want to do is I want to clean the dirt out that's funneled down each side. Okay, it's only going to be a little bit, but it's very important. Number two, this spoon's also going to show me the direction that tunnel goes. Just because you see it raised up here doesn't mean that the tunnel is directly below that. Because moles don't push the dirt straight up all the time. They dig like this, and then they'll go to this side and dig. Okay, they don't do the breaststroke through the dirt. So I bend it, or put it in. Hug the top of the tunnel, the roof of the tunnel, because we don't want to just push the dirt back. And then put it down and drag that. Drag it all to the center. See how I'm just cleaning that out? I don't want to stick my hand down there because we want to keep that excavation tiny. We want to keep it small. We're cleaning this dirt out, that's very important. So that's all cleaned out, okay? Now, take our trap, unset. You guys, if you want to move in closer, come on. Come on. Come on. Check out my hole. Come on. Best looking hole around.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
See that?
Yeah, that'd be really clean.
Clean.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
the dirt that I pulled all to the center right here, we got to get that cleaned out because we're going to get our trap in there so deep that if we don't clean that out, the pan won't go down. You can't get it down far enough to catch the dog. And I'll show you how all that works out. So once we get it opened up like this, we're a little bit narrower than the trap. What I do is I just pinch the dog on the frame like that. And then you got to steady the pan up, okay, like that with your finger. This is the pan, steady it up. If you don't, the pan's going to drop down and you're going to nosedive the pan into the floor of the tunnel and you won't be able to set the trap. So we steady the pan like that. And when I put it in, kind of scrape both sides, it's in there, okay? We're on the floor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to push it down an additional 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. Sometimes you can't, so you just get it down a little bit more. Now, most importantly, take my setting tools. We're gonna, under the handles, on top of the springs, one fits nicely inside the other. Make sure that the dog is in between the frame on this setter. We take it, we're going to push down very lightly, not hard, just lightly, just to keep tension on it so the trap doesn't rise up. Take it, we're going to squeeze till it's set, let it go. It closed completely under its own power. If it does not, then you need to keep cycling it. So we're going to go like that, we're good to go. We're going to hook the pan onto the dog like that. Now I want you guys to just feel that trap. You bet it? You bet it. That's what we want. We want that mole to come through there and not push that trap out of the ground. Okay? And you see how the trigger pan is on the floor? That step is correct. And the pan stops, these little plastic pieces, you guys can come around this side if you want to, you can probably see it a little bit better. But that's the key. You want minimum excavation, just like that. So, number one, it's a better set because it's bedded. And number two, your customer's going to be happy because you've literally, we take our loose dirt, break it up, you take rocks out, they'll jam your trap. We kind of break that up and we just take it like this. Look at that. That's it. Now, look at this. There's no, you didn't make any additional damage. That's it. Don't leave your centers in the grass like I do. Everything's got to be, I need to repaint these because I lose everything. So that's a set right there. Should we do another one? Do another one.